A very good morning to you and welcome to the AM News Live here on Gntv with me, Bryce and Kwesi Amaning, coming to you live from my studios inside number 10 and Bar Street here in Accra, Ghana. And now I'm going straight into our first story where issues of cervical cancer have been coming up here in the country, and a campaign against this particular cancer is being made to make sure that this issue is being kept in the country. Let's take a look.
Cervical cancer remains an important public health problem in developing countries where over 80% of the global burden occurs annually, but screening has been ineffective. According to a 2010 Ghana Medical Journal report, in a polygamous country like Ghana, with a high incidence of cervical cancer but no national screening program, the human papillomavirus vaccine presents a unique opportunity to reduce the burden of infection. The evidence after the Reproductive and Family Health Department of Kolebu Teaching Hospital rolled out a campaign in February this year to protect adolescents from contracting the virus indicates that the vaccines are safe and efficacious.
Our trend had been in a month we could do just about maybe between 50 and maximum 70 clients per month. But you won't believe, in the month of February we did like 200 plus in 1 month. In fact, because we started on 5th February, so 5th to 28th February, imagine the number of days in that month, and that was almost like about 3 months cases we see, and I'm sure it actually informs us of the fact that cost is a great factor when it comes to cervical cancer screening.
The principal nursing officer, Rose Aduful, intimated that even though during the campaign period their clientele shot up by 3 times the number of cases seen at the facility, funding to sustain the program has been a major challenge.
Really for us, our plan was to run this program from February through to June. For as long as we had funds, we would get it going. Funny enough, or unfortunately, we didn't get the savings and loans. I have to say they really helped us. And then the screening partners, MDS Lancet, they did a great job. They helped us. These are the two, let me say, main stakeholders who supported us directly with the screening. But when that aspect of the funds ran out, it ended like mid-April. We had no option than to go back to our 150 service provision. So since it's been 150, and the attendance has not been as heavy as it used to be, where people were working both all categories.
Cervical cancer occurs when the cells of the cervix grow abnormally and invade other tissues and organs of the body. However, cervical cancer is slow growing through precancerous changes and provides opportunities for prevention, early detection, and treatment. Over decades, most women diagnosed with precancerous changes in the cervix are in their 20s and 30s, but the average age of women when they are diagnosed with cervical cancer is the mid-50s. Routine HPV vaccination reduces harm by preventing the development of about 70% of cervical cancers and removing the negative physical and psychological impact of a cervical cancer diagnosis.
Now, and former President Jerry John Rawlings has described Vice Chairperson of the main opposition party, National Democratic Congress, NDC, Anita Disoso, as a crook. Now, and according to him, Anita Disoso is fond of using cunning means to get her way. Mr. Rawlings has also established that he regrets not telling Disoso in the face about her deeds when she knelt before him to apologize and beg for forgiveness on behalf of the National Democratic Congress NDC for its sins during the 39th anniversary of the June 4th uprising.
Former President Jerry John Rawlings has slammed the Vice Chair of the main opposition National Democratic Congress NDC, Anita Disoso, exposing her as a crook. Rawlings, who is the founder of the NDC, lately told Disoso at a ceremony held at the Medina Social Welfare School Park during the commemoration of the 39th anniversary of the June 4th uprising that her fair complexion is becoming unnatural and therefore must put an end to using bleaching creams and soaps. Mr. Rawlings' comments came moments after Disoso knelt down and begged him to forgive the sins of her party, NDC. Mr. Rawlings says he regrets not telling Disoso in the face about her deeds when the latter knelt before him to apologize and beg for forgiveness on behalf of the NDC for its sins during the 39th anniversary of the June 4th uprising. According to Mr. Rawlings, what she did was pre-planned.
Oh, yeah, crook! Oh, yeah, lucky said me can't answer. What she did was pre-planned. Yeah, the woman on the stage, June 4th, when she went on her knees. How can a woman come on her knees, pleading for forgiveness for her and the party? And, you know, instead of accepting it graciously and letting it go, you are so mean, you even go and talk about her, what do you call it? What do you call it? Her bleach face. Maybe sometimes I say the inappropriate things. I should have said it there and then. A few years back, when NDC was going for its first election for executives, the party, Congress, in those days, the 1st December was really what it was, solid, with Nana at the leadership. Amen. And they were going to have elections for executives. Anita was the third in line, way down. Out of nowhere, this number 3 position woman way down the ladder, you know, just jetted out of, you know, scooted out of the crowd, came on her knees and grabbed Nana's legs. My mother, oh, this and that and that and that and that and that.
The former president has, after the 2016 elections, slammed the National Democratic Congress for their selfishness and greed, which made them lose. During the 39th anniversary of the June 4th uprising held in Accra, he cautioned that if the NDC does not change from its old age, it will be difficult to come back in 2018.
And so that's former President of the Republic's Excellency Jerry John Rawlings making a statement there as to why he believes the NDC chairperson Disoso is a crook. Now away from that on to other issues where in the next few weeks the Minister of Finance is expected to appear before Parliament to present the mid-year review of the 2018 budget and government economic policy statement. A business analyst and member of Parliament for Sunny East constituency, Honourable Dominic Napari, has said he expects government to come clean on strategies being adopted to address the current harsh living conditions in the country.
But today we see worse things. Today, as we speak now, the CD to the dollar is about 4.7 and above, which clearly shows that if what Dr. Baumia said was a yardstick to judge the performance of a government and its economy, then hopefully then we can also as well agree that the government has failed in that direction. But that's notwithstanding, those things are too technical. But practically, when you come to our living conditions, you go everywhere in the country, every sector. Pocket women are crying, workers are crying, school children are crying, importers are crying, everybody. The fuel price keep on increasing day in, day out. And the government has been so insensitive to even Ghanaians to even alert us that they are increasing fuel prices. Once you go to the pump and then the price changes, you cannot even plan. And that is the aspect we are not happy with. At least the previous government could tell us that, could announce that price of fuel will be increased. But today, you just go tomorrow, get up and go, and then prices are increased. Not only fuel prices, electricity prices are going up, water tariffs are also all going up. And so this actually shows that there's really chaos in the system.
Now, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, says a lot of 8 members are still owed arrears by government. According to NAGRAT, the arrears accrued between 2013 and 2016 have not been paid fully despite government's countless assurance to do so.
Early this year, NAGRAT embarked on an indefinite strike over government's inability to pay over 50 million Ghana cedis outstanding arrears owed its members. The arrears cover transfer grants, transport, and travel and vehicle allowance. President Akufo-Addo, while delivering his keynote address at the 170th anniversary celebration of the Presbyterian College of Education at Ekropong, only mentioned that his government had only cleared all arrears in respect of 3 items, namely travel allowances, transfer grants, and overtime allowances. The president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Angel Kabanu, said the government's claim is surprising. He said although the government has made payments to some teachers, the majority of the teachers are still owed by the government. The decision to suspend the strike came after assurances from the government that the monies will be paid. Angel Kabanu has, however, warned that the unpaid teachers will lay down their tools again if the government does not honor its pledges.
You're still watching us live here on Gntv from our studios inside number 10 and Post Street here in Accra, Ghana, in West Africa. We are back after the break with more. Don't go away.
Hello and welcome to Pay Global app. Pay Global allows you to send and receive money into your mobile wallet instantly from around the world. It makes money transfer easy, affordable, smooth, and convenient for agents and users. Roaming services are also available globally. So, how to get started? First, you have to download the Pay Global app. Step 1. Open Google Play or Play Store using your Android device. Step 2. Search by typing Pay Global in the Google Play search engine. Step 3. Locate and click on Pay Global and install. Step 4. After installing, tap Open and allow access to complete the process. Now, let's see how to create a new Pay Global account. After opening the Pay Global app, click on New User Account. Complete the registration form with the following information to register your account: phone number, full name, email, date of birth, enter preferred password, and confirm your password. Click on Register Now to register your account. A confirmation code will be sent to you and displayed in the text box. Click Next to complete registration. Visit the nearest GN Momo agent to load your wallet. Contact us for support on email support@payappglobal.com. Pay Global. Total convenience.
There's more to life than where one begins, and which is George Weah.
I'm not setting up.
His presidency would mark the first time.
Be a good boy, be a good girl. How did you muster the courage to call Mrs. Indu to tell her we lost or have lost £2 billion?
And still attracts me to Pastor Toby.
All the stories about me and being in business, this was the worst.
You're welcome back. I'm streaming live on YouTube as well on GNTV. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram, all on GNTV for more update. Now on to the international front this morning. Now, in Kenya, where it's been stated by the police there that 8 Kenyan police officials were killed in the eastern part of the country after their vehicle hit an an improvised explosive device planted by Somalia's Al-Shabaab militant group.
Al-Shabaab is fighting to topple Somalia's government, establish their own rule based on their strict interpretation of the Islamic law, and drive out of the country peacekeepers deployed by the African Union. The militants frequently launch attacks in neighboring Kenya to pressure it to withdraw its troops, which form part of the peacekeeping force. Charles Owino, Kenya's police spokesman, told Reuters that 5 administration police and 3 reservists were killed while protecting the borders and security of the country. Abdiasis Abu Musab, Al-Shabaab's military operations spokesman, said the group killed 10 Kenyan soldiers in the attack. Earlier this month, 5 Kenyan police officers were killed in a similar attack.
Now, Libya's National Oil Corporation (NOC) says storage capacity at Ras Larouf port had been cut by 400,000 barrels after a second crude oil tank was set on fire amid fighting between rival factions for control of 2 key export terminals.
The NOC warned that the blaze that broke out at the storage tank number 2 early on Sunday could spread to 3 further tanks, which would not stop exports from Ras Larouf ports completely. Such an outcome would be a major blow for Libya's oil industry, which, despite continuing political turmoil, had staged a partial recovery over the past 2 years, raising national production to just over 1 million barrels per day. Fighting over Ras Larouf and the neighboring oil port of Es Sidar began on Thursday when an armed force opposed to Khalifa Haftar's Libyan National Army (LNA) stormed the terminals. The attack led the NOC to shut the ports and evacuate all workers, declaring force majeure on exports. Both terminals had been badly damaged in previous fighting, but had resumed operations after LNA took control of them in 2016.
Now, the Malian migrant who dramatically rescued a small boy dangling from a balcony in Paris is due to meet Mali's President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta later June this month. Let's take a look.
Mamadou Gassam, dubbed Spider-Man for his daring rescue effort, had earlier returned to Mali to a hero's welcome. He is expected to return to France to sign his employment contract with the fire department on June 28, 2018. The young Malian migrant who saved a 4-year-old child was later made a French citizen by President Emmanuel Macron. Mr. Mamadou Gassam, who met Macron at the presidential palace after a video of his rescue went viral, was also offered a place in the fire brigade. The video of Mr. Gassam's quick climbing to reach the child, cheered on by terrified onlookers, has had people calling the 22-year-old a real Spider-Man.
And so we'll be giving updates as to how particularly that meeting goes between the Spider-Man of Mali in France and Mali's President Keïta. As now from that on to other issues, where Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed made a startling admission that the government had sanctioned torture of 8 political prisoners, which he described as unconstitutional. Abiy was taking questions from members of parliament after he submitted to them a brief of current affairs of the state, including recent decisions to privatize the state telecommunications company and national airline, when one of the legislators challenged Abiy on the constitutionalism of releasing prisoners, especially those jailed for corruption and terrorism. The Prime Minister simply said jailing and torturing, which we did, are not constitutional either. As according to him, there's no more going to be jailing and unconstitutionally in the country. Let's take a look onto other stories in here, onto the next stories, where US President Donald Trump has attacked the German government's approach to migration now as he comes under pressure over his own crackdown on migrants.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel's coalition looked tenuous. Mrs. Merkel is in the middle of a serious domestic row after defending her government's immigration policy. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump has adopted a highly criticized zero-tolerance approach, which has split families crossing the Mexican border. The backlash has left Mrs. Merkel trying to hold her coalition together. Other claims in Mr. Trump's tweets have already been debunked by various German news sites, especially his assertion that crime in Germany is way up. They pointed out that Germany's crime...
We're giving more details on that particular story as tensions are rising as to what exactly President Donald Trump is saying when it comes to immigration issues in the US and in other countries. Now, away from that, on to other issues where South Korea has angered Japan by staging military drills near a contested Iceland chain, even as it discusses scaling back joint war games with the US to de-escalate tensions with North Korea.
The South Korean military dispatched 6 warships, including the 3,200-ton destroyer Yang Manchun, and aircraft including F-15K fighter jets and Black Hawk helicopters to practice the defense of what South Korea calls the Dokdo Islands in waters east of the Korean peninsula. The islands are also claimed by Japan, where they are known as the Takeshima. The South Korean drills, which it usually conducts twice a year, are expected to last 2 days. Japan's foreign ministry on Sunday called on South Korea to stop the exercises. The South Korean drills come less than a week after US President Donald Trump said Washington would stop war games with Seoul in an effort to ease tensions during nuclear negotiations with North Korea and to save money. Trump's announcement appeared to catch the US military and US allies in South Korea and Japan off guard, and a statement from the US military over the weekend said it was still evaluating how Trump's plan would be implemented. But reports suggest that the president's plan applied only to the large-scale exercises involving thousands of troops.
Now, the US President Donald Trump has threatened to impose tariffs on an additional $200 billion tariffs of Chinese goods in a growing trade war. Now, Mr. Trump said the 10% tariffs will come into effect if China refuses to change its practices. Now, the move will be a major escalation of the dispute, which threatens to take the US and China into trade war. And China reported by accusing the US of blackmail and saying it would match any further tariffs. Mr. Trump insists that China has been unfairly benefiting from a trade imbalance with the US for years. Now, last week, he announced the US would impose 25% tariffs on $50 billion worth of Chinese goods. Beijing responded by saying it would hit 659 US products worth $50 billion, including agricultural product, cars, and marine product with a similar tax. Mr. Trump said in a statement on Monday night that by retaliating, China was threatening United States companies, workers, and farmers who have done nothing wrong. Asian markets sank on Tuesday in response to the latest news. And so more trade war there between US and China as to how tariffs keeps coming in from the US President Donald Trump, and China also keeps retaliating with the tariffs on goods coming in from the US. We'll give you more details what exactly is happening on the international market and considering this particular two countries and their tariff issues. That's all for the news here this morning. I'm Bryce Nana Kosi Amaning. We'll be live here on Gntv, live from our studios inside number 10 in Street here in Accra, Ghana. Like us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram, all on GNTVGH, and also streaming live on YouTube at GNTVGH. Have a good morning.